script here, is that okay? I'll just leave it right here.
Okay. Yeah, I
Okay.
just went through and did I highlighted mine.
Good morning. I hope that you all are enjoying the sunshine that we finally have for the first time in several weeks. So, and it looks like we're getting some warm weather as well to go along with it, so enjoy. My name is Deb Brogy, and I will be your liturgist this morning. Today, we would like to welcome Mary Gaffner as our guest speaker. She's spoken here at the church several times before, so welcome. Today's special music is by soloist Faith Moorbacher, so we are very appreciative and hope that you enjoy the music, as I'm sure that you will. There's a few announcements I'd like to share. We do have social time, also known as the Soul Food Cafe, and that's directly after the worship service. And serving today or hosting today are Sam and Carol Powell. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time, and I'm sure there'll be lots of great treats downstairs. Super Sunday is coming up, and that will be on February 25th, and that will be after worship, and everybody is invited, all ages, and there's fellowship, stories, and crafts, so please come and enjoy. And then on Monday, February 26th, is a welcome table community meal, and this month the meal is hosted by Lita and Elise Apple families. Thank you very much. They will be serving barbecue sandwiches, homemade potato salad, coleslaw, and some sides. And if you would like to bring any desserts to add to that, that's certainly always welcome as well. Also, if you would like to purchase a plant for Easter, you'll see these, and you can fill one of these out and send it in. You can give it at the church office, and if you have any questions, you can contact Roanne. But there's the single stem lilies, the daffodils, the hyacinths, and the double stem lilies. They're beautiful, and last year the whole front was just covered with flowers. So if you would like to do that in memory of someone or just because it's Easter, and please feel free to do that and get that in. There is a deadline on that for March 10th, so that's coming up quickly. So if you would like to, please fill this out and turn this in. And are there any, oh, let me see, there's one other. Are there any other announcements? Cindy.
Good morning. I had about 10 people at the first Lenten study, and I welcome others. It was a very good video, and they kind of stand alone. So please join us Tuesdays at 2 o'clock in the church library. The donation tree is up, but we will be, I will be hanging some more donation tags on there. We appreciate any support you can give to us with the donation tree. These will be for the spring cheer bags that go to those in care facilities and homebound. Today, after Soul Food Cafe, Paul Reeder will be demonstrating how our dishwasher works. We would really like to have a few more people that feel comfortable running the dishwasher. The numbers have kind of dwindled down as to who feels comfortable. A lot of us look at it and say, well, I would do it, but I'm afraid of it. So if you're afraid of the dishwasher and don't mind getting your hands wet, join Paul in the kitchen after the social hour. Thank you.
Are there any other announcements? Denise. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, then are there any prayer requests, joys, or concerns that anybody would like to share? We do have, we would like to extend our sincere sympathy to Randy and Jeff Zuber and Mary Stenbrotten for the passing of their father, John Zuber. Please keep them in their prayers. Anybody else? I would like to just add, I'd like everyone to ask for continued prayers for the search committee as we continue that process. Your prayers are very much appreciated. As we always do, it is the time for the passing of the peace, and as we have been doing since Pastor Ted was here, since the flu season is in full swing, just get up and pass the peace by waving at everyone and saying good morning, so please pass the peace. Lord is with you. Okay, and I'd like to introduce Faith here.
In Christ alone, my hope is found. He is my light, my strength, my song, this cornerstone, this solid ground, firm through the fiercest drought and storm. What heights of love, what depths of peace, when fears are still, when striving cease. My comforter, my all in all. Here in the love of Christ I stand. In Christ alone, who took on flesh, fullness of God in helpless babe, this gift of love and righteousness, scorned by the ones he came to save, till on that cross, as Jesus died, the wrath of God was satisfied, for every sin on him was laid. Here in the depth of Christ I live. There in the ground his body lay, light of the world by darkness slain, then bursting forth in glorious day, up from the grave he rose again, and as he stands in victory, since Christ has lost its grip on me, for I am his and he is mine, bought with the precious blood of Christ. No guilt in life, no fear in death. This is the power of Christ in me. From life's first cry to final breath, Jesus commands my destiny. No power of hell, no scheme of man can ever pluck me from his hand, till he returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ I'll stand. Power of hell, no scheme of man can ever pluck me from his hand, till he returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ I'll stand till he returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ I'll stand.
Let's see. I have my shoes, sweaters, socks, slacks, warm gloves, a hat. Well, that's about everything I need.
Is it?
Well, what else would I need? I will be warm enough and ready for the trip.
Are you sure you're ready for your trip, Paul?
Well, I must admit I don't really know where I'm going, and I'm not sure what I will find.
How do you feel about that?
Well, not real good, but I would like to know what to expect so that I can be truly ready. Well, that's easier said than done.
What else can you possibly need?
I guess that I need to know that this journey will lead me somewhere.
It will. It leads to the cross and beyond.
Whoa, that frightens me. I am scared. I'm not ready for the cross. Here's a journey that moves beyond where we are now. Come, trust the God whose journey it is. Come, trust in the steadfast love of God. This is Lent. This is the journey.
Here is the journey for all who long to travel. Come, for God makes known love's path and invites us to follow, trusting in the steadfast love of God. This is Lent. This is the journey.
Here is the journey for all those who want to know the truth. Come, this is the way of salvation, and we wait for God's call into steadfast love. This is Lent. This is the journey.
Here is the journey that takes us further than we have been before. Come, for God leads the humble into what is right, surrounded by the steadfast love of God. This is Lent. This is the journey. Let us join in the responsive prayer. The journey is uncertain. The destination is unknown. And its outcome is challenging to body and to soul. The journey is not complete. The travelers not yet arrived. The horizon is not yet crossed. But we travel in your steadfast love, O God, hold us. The footprints are before us, the distance far, and yet there is light out front. Reading from the Old Testament, from Genesis, chapter 9, verses 8 through 15, and I'm going to kind of summarize it because it is repetitive. It's one you all know. It's about the rainbow, and it's about God recognizing that the destruction of the world was not his intent. He felt bad about that. If you wonder if God feels bad about things, this is one of them. Never again will I destroy the world with a flood, because I lost too many of my beloved. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, as for me, I am establishing my covenant with you and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the domestic animals, and every animal of the earth, and with you. And many that came out of the ark heard those words. I establish my covenant with you, that never again shall all flesh be cut off from the waters of a flood, and never again shall there be a flood that destroys the earth. God said, this is the sign of the covenant that I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you, all the future generations. I have set my bow in the clouds, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth and you. And what is not written up there on the screen is the response to that particular covenant and agreement. It's taken from Psalm 25, verses 1 through 10. To you, O Lord, I lift my soul. Did we not just sing that? To you, O Lord, I lift my soul. O God, in you I trust. Do not let me be put to shame. Do not let my enemies exult over me. Do not let those who wait for you be put to shame. Let them be ashamed who are wantonly treacherous. But make me to know your ways, O Lord, and teach me your paths. Lead me in your truth and teach me. For you are the God of my salvation, and I will wait for you all day long. Be mindful of your mercy, O Lord, and of your steadfast love, for they have been from old. But do not remember the sins of my youth or my transgressions. According to your steadfast love, remember me for your goodness' sake, O Lord. Good and upright is the Lord, and therefore he instructs the sinners in the way. He leads the humble in what is right, and he teaches the humble his way. All the paths of the Lord are steadfast, love and faithfulness. for those who attempt to keep the covenant. Thanks be to God for the assurances. And never mind little feet that run up. It's important that they're at the altar. Let us stand and sing Rain Down. You may be seated if you wish. If you wish to stand for the gospel, you can. Well, we've been in Mark for a while, but we're back in the first chapter again, which is great. I don't know how much you know about Mark, and I don't know how much has been explained to you. But Mark is a rapid Bible story, the gospel. It goes so fast, he uses powerful words. He uses words that are filled with violence. He uses words that you get and you understand. And so the first chapter of Mark has been in the lectionary for, maybe since the beginning of like February. Talking a lot about what's going to happen, and very succinctly and quickly. And so we are back at the baptism of Jesus in the first chapter. And so I am reading from the first chapter, 9 through 15. And I want you to pay a special attention to the words that he uses. They're very quick and they're very fast. In those days, Jesus came from Nazareth of Galilee and was baptized by John in the Jordan. And just as he was coming up out of the water, he saw the heavens torn apart and the Spirit descending like a dove on him. And then a voice from heaven, "You are my Son, the beloved. With you I am well pleased." And the Spirit immediately drove him out into the wilderness. He was in the wilderness 40 days, tempted by Satan, who in the Hebrew Bible, it's really translated as the aggressor. So it's things that are aggressive. He doesn't use devil. He was in the wilderness 40 days, tempted by Satan. And he was with the wild beasts, and the angels waited on him. Now, after John was arrested, and Jesus came from Galilee, proclaiming the good news of God and saying, "The time is fulfilled, the kingdom of God has come near. Repent and believe the good news." So I ask you to join me in the prayer of confession, which is printed on the screen. We have lists of things to do for all the areas of our lives. Our lives are so time-bound and duty-bound that we feel imprisoned in them. Now we are challenged by Christ to take a journey of discipleship. Don't feel ready for this journey. We need more time. Forgive us, Lord, when we place so many duties in the path to serving you. Reset our priorities so that we will be ready to commit our lives in your service. Help us, O Lord, to be ready when you call. Help us to courageously answer the summons you bring. Let us place our trust in you in all ways. Amen. So as we journey, God says to you and to me, I am with you. I hold you. I call you. I know you. I care for you. I travel with you. I give myself to you. I am on this journey with you. I am God, and my steadfast love is always with you. So travel in peace, knowing that my mercy and forgiveness are always yours. Thanks be to God. I have to get used to, is this time for the sermon? And I have one. I am not proficient like the people that, like Faith, singing that beautiful song, who can use her cell phone to look at, hear the music, or somebody that can read their scriptures and stuff from the printed. Yep, here we go. So, dear ones, I am grateful to be with you, and Faith, your song was beautiful, and I thank you for coming, and look what you brought with you. Family, it's all good. The covenant made with us in Genesis chapter 9, verses 8 through 17, was to never again destroy the earth by flood. And the human response to God's covenant is Psalm 25, verses 1 through 10. It is beautiful comments, and it cements our trust in God, which is why we sang those verses written by Marty Haugen. they plead with God, and they teach us, and they give us wisdom, and they rely on hearing us rely on the fact that God will give all of those things to us because of our trust. Our trust in God, our trust in faithfulness, and his love for all of us. And you sang, and you heard, "To you, O Lord, I lift my soul. O my God, in you I trust. Teach me." Let us pray. God of rainbows, the bow in the sky, and the covenant promises, and Jesus, Word made flesh, kingdom come to earth, Spirit of wilderness walking, be with us. Bathe us in the waters of your teaching and your love. Open us to your presence here in this sanctuary. Cleanse us from those hidden, shadowy parts of our hearts and make known your grace and mercy as we move forward with faltering, trembling steps into this season of trial and temptation. Prepare us to love you. And I ask that the words of my mouth on this day and every day, and the meditations of all of our hearts gathered here, will be acceptable in your sight. For indeed, O Lord, you are our rock and our Redeemer. So come, Holy Spirit, come. We need your presence among us. Amen. So if you happen to be here on Ash Wednesday, you heard a little bit about what I'm going to say today. Because there's a great comment that goes around that says, we don't like Lent very well. I love it. I love it because Larry Beline taught me how to love it. He loved those songs that were minor keyed and end on a note when everybody wants it to end normally and they don't. There's something about that call. And there's something about the call to be in Lent. Now, you won't find it in the Bible. You've heard that before. It's not there. It's not a written specific thing that is called to us. But the folks that gathered up the Book of Faith and were writing different things, including the Nicene Creed in the year, 325 something, AD, I guess, decided that we needed that period of time between Epiphany with all of the light, and that we needed that time before we went to the resurrection and the tomb. And so they modeled this after many of the sources that our holidays, our Christian holidays, are formed from, and that is the pagan worship. There was a pagan rite of spring. So our resurrection and all of those things first came as we were discovering and finding out who our God was and who we were called to be. And this is no exception. The Nicene Creed has declared in the council that met that we needed this time of learning and this time of space between the birth and the death of Christ. And so we have Lent. It's a good place for me, and it's necessary for all of us to begin again and to trust and to learn how to walk faithfully. So while it may not be a favorite of many people, it is one of my favorite seasons. And though it doesn't come dressed in the finery of the pageants and the carols and the shepherds and the angels and glory hallelujahs, it doesn't come with all of the lights that are around houses, the blinking lights that welcome everybody into the season as beacons of hope, for the Lord will come. Instead, it comes dressed in the colors of bleakness and death. It is as foreboding as the wind blowing outside your windows last night, coming from the north and the west, banging the chimes on the wall that I have not brought in yet. And you could hear the leaves or the trees just clacking their branches together in revolt and in honesty, baring their arms to the season of Lent. So it is time to look into your hearts. And I don't know how many times I've told not only the congregation at Washington, but the congregation here at Zwingli. This is a time for us to look into our hearts and to dust off those corners and those edges and to look there and see what you find. Look into the eyes of your own soul and see what it is that you find important. But also look into the heart of your church and what does it represent and who is it, and pray for your search committee. Lent is the clarion call to remember that we belong to God and we believe the good news that God is alive and among us. But we are to repent. We are to look inside. But we do it knowing full well that God is alive and among us. In the wilderness walk, it was the angels that attended him. And it is God who will walk with you. We have been bought and paid for, my friends, at a tremendous price. And Lent calls us to recognize that indeed we have a few missteps in our path of life. Carl Jung says that we don't necessarily see ourselves as sinners, though pride, through pride we are ever deceiving ourselves, but deep down, below the surface, the average conscience is still there, our still small voice that says to us, something's out of tune in your life. And so it may be. So this first Sunday of Lent begins with creation, with water, lots of water. Just a few drops, but a deluge. It begins with the aftermath of a flood of myopic proportions, so large that we cannot fathom it. And yet out of that chaos came new beginnings. I will never destroy the whole world. Not again. Out of the muck and the mud of destruction came newness and a covenant of promise. I have put the bow in the heaven to remind not only you, but me. We hear the psalmist say, to you, O Lord, I lift my soul. O God, in you I trust. Teach me. As I explained earlier, Mark as a gospel is about as dense as a flourless chocolate cake, and as devoid of details as a blank page. And he starts his birth story by saying, in the beginning, this is the good news of Jesus Christ. No Christmas story, just this is it. And so it begins with Jesus being dipped in the waters of the Jordan River. And he rises to hear the beautiful hymn sung from the lips of God. You are my beloved. In you I am well pleased. And so Jesus is driven immediately by the Spirit, dripping wet, into the wilderness, there to figure out what those words mean. And Mark says he was tempted by the aggressor. With wild animals and angels waited upon him even though. But it does not say what the temptations were. Doesn't say if he succumbed to them or not. Not in this gospel, it doesn't. It doesn't say what the wild beasts were. Maybe they were ocelots or tigers or hyena, or maybe they were beasts of indecision or beasts of discernment or beasts of despair or beasts of fear. But the angels attended him. He was not alone. Mark doesn't say anything that they did to protect him from temptation or the thoughts that were prancing around in his head. It doesn't say that his ministry would be smooth sailing and that everything would be wonderful. In fact, it was the sure knowledge that it would not be an easy path, this being the beloved of God. It would not be as it was the first 30 years of his life, and it will not be the same for you during Lent when you come out on the other side. Life gets more complicated and difficult. But like Jesus, you know you are not alone. For Jesus knew the stories. He was raised a good Jewish boy. He knew the stories. He knew the presence of God. He was not alone in his preparation process, and neither are we. To you, O Lord, I lift my soul. Teach me your paths. 40 days of fasting and praying, 40 days of looking inside your soul, 40 days of conversation with God, 40 days of hearing the answers and the words, you are my children. You are my beloved. In you, I am well pleased. So we begin our 40 days of spiritual discipline, if you choose. The angels will attend you. They will fortify you by the knowledge that you have of being here on Sundays, and you hear the stories. You hear them expounded upon. You know them. And God is with you every step of the way. Lent is about remembering who you are and to whom you belong. It's about being brave enough to see yourselves as sinners. It is a time to examine yourselves and the church. And sometimes we don't always recognize what lurks around the corners of our hearts. We see it in other people, though. We don't see our own selfishness. We don't see our own pride. We need affirmation. I'll be standing by the door at the end. We need that affirmation and acceptance. We don't see that culture has encouraged us in the ways that are unhealthy and calls them to be acceptable. We don't see that. We don't see the injustices that occur because they may not be what we discern as bad, because it doesn't affect us. We don't recognize that our calendars are more about the world than they are about serving God. How many of you have written on your calendar, take a casserole to Bob Labar, he broke his kneecap? How many of you have written, I need to go visit at the nursing home today? I need to feed my beloved. Our calendars don't say things like that always. They say things like FFA alumni banquet today at 12:30. They say, call Kim Becker. She wants to know more about the pantry. Our calendars don't necessarily reflect what should be in our hearts. We don't see that our busyness cuts us off from contemplation. We don't see that we are too busy to be with God. We'll do that a little bit later. We don't see that our brokenness of our relationship with others, and we don't see what we're doing always to this beautiful planet because we're grocery shopping. we are wounding our relationship and our trust with our Creator. So what are we gluttonous about? Do you envy others? Is it just a lust for a lovely body? Or a better position? Are we sloths when it comes time to serve God in the needs of others? Oh, we need Lent, folks. We need the wilderness walk. We need the angels to attend us, to be observant so that we can be observant to our hearts, with our eyes, and with our actions. The wilderness is where we begin this sacred journey. This season of sacred reflection, this time for self-examination. In the wilderness, we are unable to keep up with the public image we so wish to portray. Pretense fades away and honest vulnerability becomes possible. The wilderness, we are able to confess those messy realities of our lives. Because in this wilderness life we are leading, we forget the promises of God, and we are threatened by the unknown. The dangers of being found out while we're in our wilderness, like it or not, is where we should be living our lives. It is a place between certainty and doubt, between hope and fear, between promises made and promises kept. Lent is about remembering. It's about remembering the stories, and that we are never left alone, and that through the wildernesses of life we are accompanied. So set out on your Lenten journey. Remember that God is with you. Remember the stories. Remember your baptism. You have been claimed and called by God, and you are chosen and beloved. God said so. You are empowered to find your voice and your life because you are a child of God. Your lives have been invaded, like it or not, by the divine presence. So let's dip ourselves into these waters. And let's hear the very good news for those of us who know we need a turning around. The Gospel of Mark opens with, "This is the beginning of the good news of Jesus Christ. Let us walk through the 40 days of Lent, accompanied by the stories of faith, the angels that attend us, and certainly all of the beasts that need to be scourged from our lives." Let us then, dear ones, give thanks to God because he opens our eyes, and that is the good news of the gospel. Thanks be to God. Let's pray. So we stand amazed. We stand amazed, good and gracious God, not only because you will invite us to the table, but you have such great love for us that when we fall, you pick us up, dust us off, shake the corners of our hearts and say, let's look at this again. You are so great, and so worthy is your name. But we have to give you thanks for the ways that you come to us in the ordinariness of the day, in the laughter of a child, in the greeting of a friend, in the smile of a stranger, in the songs that are sung, in the music that is played. We give you thanks for all of it. We give you thanks because we are able to share in the ministries of the poor, and the doors of buildings have been opened to us and blessings given. But open the doors of our heart more, open to receive you in the faces of the disenfranchised. Thank you for allowing us to see through the lens of your great love. And we ask this day, as on every day, that you continue to keep us open to your leading, that you lead us in the paths of your great love to serve and minister in your name. We cannot help but ask for your healing presence and your courage and your strength to fill us and those who are in need of it. You think of the Zuber family, and you think of the Trumpies, and you think of the other people who have illnesses that were mentioned on this day, who have needs. Fill them with your Spirit. Surround them with your presence. Let them also remember that they are never alone. And we do ask this all in the name of your Son who taught us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. I don't know where we are again. Is it communion? Oh, there it is up there. Oh, summons. Oh, I want to sing that. Okay, I know it's late, but let's stand and sing that.
And at this time, we have the offering plates in the front of the church and in the narthex. And as a reminder, they are both there for you, that if you would like to place your offering, we certainly appreciate it. And for those that are watching live or are streaming, that's on our screen, the addresses are there, and we certainly appreciate all financial support, but we also appreciate those who are able to give their time and service and talents by volunteering, so we thank all of you. Please stand and join in the doxology. Which we may become.
Our last hymn is Lord, Who Through These 40 Days. Let's just do 2 verses. Now I'm going to ask you to do something different, but I really would like you all to give each other a blessing. And so I would ask the people in the front, I would say, Dwayne, where you're at, and Kim, where you're at, if you would turn around and face the people in the back, and would the people on the sides look in, and then would the people in the back and in the front, all when you're in your arrangement, please raise your hands and read the benediction as you bless each other. Raise your hands. Let us go and meet the world which God loves and for which Christ died. Let us proclaim that God is worthy of our trust and Christ of our discipleship. Let us live as heirs of Christ and as people of God in the midst of God's world. Amen. Thank you. Go with the peace of God into this world. You've got some work.